Hi everyone, and what's up guys. In this video I want to talk about the classes and objects in our C# oriented language. So I want to talk about these lessons because I think this will be the most important lesson on this tutorial, because not only but one of the important difference between object oriented languages and non-object oriented languages is that our object-oriented language is a class-based. So every object-oriented language is class-based language. So of course, and our C# is a class-based language. So a class is just a construct that enables you to create your own custom types by grouping together variables of other types, methods, and whatnot. So a class is like a blueprint. It defines the data and behavior of a type. So it's like just a blueprint. And if you notice, I created another class, and the name is just another class because we need to have two classes in order to we can test our classes and see the functionalities between the two classes. So I just go here to the Unity editor and go to the create and create a new C# script and name this script another class. So the first class is actually our first script. So no but our first script. And I will now explain the functionality between our classes. So if we, for example, have some player in our game, so if we build a game, we need to have a player. So if we have a player and this player actually have an health, so int health is equal to 100. So no minus but 100. And if our player also have the speed, so it will be float speed and is equal to 15, so 14f for example. So if our player also have a name, it will be the string name, and it will be, for example, I don't know, assassin. So Assassin's Creed, yeah. Semicolon on the end. And if our player have all these components, all of these variables, this include this class myFirstScript. So all this code that we will type and that we currently have is included by and contained by this myFirstScript. So this myFirstScript is actually a class that contains all of this code right here. So I will now, in order to we can concatenate or just to show the functionalities between the two classes, we need to create an object. So it will be myFirstScript and name it myScript, and it will be is equal to new myFirstScript parentheses and semicolon, and we now create object of our script. And in order to we can show the functionalities between these two scripts, we need to have the object of one script, and that is of course our first script. And we just create this object of our script which has the name myScript, and that's whole philosophy. So if we now, for example, go down here and create an method which is going to be player speed, and open the parentheses and curly brackets, and we create a function or method which is player speed. And if we in this method type debug.log, so print in console the player speed is, and go here and type plus and type speed, which indicates to variable speed that we have created right here. So float speed is 14f. And if we go here below our object which we have created from our script and type, for example, myScript dot player script, so player speed actually, sorry about that, and semicolon on the end, and we see how can we call also our functions from the object that we have created. So we created an object which is myScript and which is taken by myFirstScript, and call by this object calling the player speed method which we have created right here. So if we now try to save this and go back to Unity and run the game, notice what is going to happen. And actually we doesn't see anything. Why? Well, because I forgot to call this script to our game object or to any game object. So I didn't call our script to any game object. So you see on the cowboy, on the game object, on the main camera, I didn't call our script. So type here my first script, and if we now try to run this game, now we see that the player speed is 14, and you saw how it works and how we can use this object which we have created right here, and you saw that the R console prints the appropriate value and the appropriate debug.log empty string right here. So I will now present a function that simply will create an object out of our class. So this is of course a constructor. So when a class or struct is created like now, we can call the constructor of our class. So constructors have the same name as the class or struct, and they usually initialize the data members of the new object that we are creating. So constructors simply will create an object out of our class. And constructor also can include the arguments or parameters, just like functions and methods can include. And now I will create an example of a constructor. So it will be public, and as we said, the constructor has the same name as the script. So public my first script, open these empty parentheses, curly brackets, and we create constructor. So constructor also can have parentheses like function. So we have here three properties in our class. And we can type like this. So we can in his parentheses type int health. So now like this. So health, and float speed for the speed, and string name for the, of course, our name. So I again type here curly brackets. I forgot I already typed the curly brackets. So what we can do now in our constructor, so we can type this dot health is equal to health, and this dot speed is equal to, so not minus man, but is equal to speed. Sometimes I have the spelling problems here, and this dot name is equal to, of course, our name. So don't worry, I will explain what does this mean. So this dot health refers to this health right here. So if we have in the R script variable health and type in the constructor or any other function this dot health, this word actually refers to the variable which is contained by original script, and is equal to health, and this health without this word is this health right here. So is health from the parentheses, and this appends for all of three are variables that we have providing here. And in the testing purposes I will comment this constructor out. So it will be slash and this small asterisk, and on the end again asterisk and slash, and we comment out our constructor. So I think you probably know what is the comments in programming, but I will explain once again. So the comment simply comment some line of code, and that code won't be executed. So for example, if we comment out this line of code, then this line of code won't be executed when we run the game. So this is simply comments in programming. And I want to now create some method like void player properties brackets curly brackets, and we create our player properties method. So I will in this method type debug.log and type the player health is, and pass our health variable. So health again plus, and again in the empty strings the player, so the player speed is, and type the speed variable plus again empty strings, and the player name is, and type the variable which represent our name. So this is this method right here. So this is player properties function. And if we, I will delete this player speed function because we don't need it anymore. So if we want to, like in previous, call this player properties method, I will use this my script like helper and create, so my script dot player properties brackets semicolon on the end. And if we try to save this and go back to Unity and run the game, we see that our console prints appropriate debug.log from the player properties function. So the player health is 100, the player speed is 14, and the player name is assassin. So this is similar example like previous, but I want to show you something with this function when we now use the constructor. So as I said, I will now uncomment this constructor, and for example, if I here, when we have created this my script object, I will in his arguments or his parentheses type 600 from the health, and for the speed it will be, for example, 1000f, and for the name it will be string, which is going to be no more assassin, but now it is going to be killer, for example. And for example, if we now try to save this, go back to Unity, clear the console first of all and run the game, and we see now how can we call the constructor. So our constructor now change our player properties function. So now the player health is 600, the player speed is 1000, and the player name is now killer and no more assassin. So we see how can we implement the constructor and change some methods when we create them. So we can create constructor without these arguments. So we create constructor with just 2 arguments or no arguments, and this will be whole philosophy about classes and constructors. And I think you learned something new in this video. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have some questions, please put that in comments and I will answer as quickly as I can. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.